What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum. Most importantly, if you'd like to join this discussion right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Sane, Arwin, Anon-Moto, Flatten Earth, I'm not sure if it's Quantum Eraser or Johnny Globehead, but one or the other, Paul and Sammy. Good to have you.
It's probably going to be Johnny Globehead because I got to step out. But
it was lovely.
Good talking to you guys.
You've been an excellent guest. Thank you very much for joining, Sammy. You've been a really good sport.
See you.
So welcome.
I know what I was. Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Nathan. Sorry.
I was just saying hello. We are live, just so you're aware.
Yeah, I was on Jose's hangout right before this one, until they sniped me 3 times and then.
Those were the days. So you got kicked out.
I had a really good conversation going. They were probing me on my model and my claim that all of the heavenly bodies are holographic in nature. It was really good.
Hello, holo bodies of nature.
Hey.
Yes, we like just so stories.
Sorry, I had to deal with an issue. Are we done with the hypothesis?
We took a big crap on that train wreck of a hypothesis regarding the claim by Aristarchus that the shadow on the moon is caused by a physical sphere-shaped Earth. So yes, that was a complete train wreck. Shout out to the flatearthchannel.com. Good morning from Canada. Hello, thank you for hitting the super chat. Really appreciate your support. So was there any... this is my segue into housekeeping, Owen. Any signs of curvature in that neck of the woods?
No curvature, Nathan.
Oh, hey, physics. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. We have found no curvature yet.
Arwin?
Yeah?
Were there any signs of curvature? You've been on travels.
Well, mountains are curved. There's actually mountain formations reminding me of a female sometimes, especially in Spain. It's interesting.
My God, it's just like having Ranty here.
Hey now.
Any signs of Earth-based curvature on your travels to other debate platforms?
Oh, no, just obstruction at a linear rate in relation to the distance of the observer.
Wait, Arwen,
beyond the optical slant point.
Are you saying Jose hasn't found any curvature yet?
Nope.
That's too bad.
He doesn't claim
All
to.
right, maybe tomorrow.
I love it. Perfectly timed sarcasm from Chocolate Sane. Any signs of axial rotation?
Nope.
Physics Warrior, you've been out and about as well. I've seen you on other platforms.
Yes, no, nobody has mentioned about no spin, or they don't feel it, they don't see it. No.
A lot of debacles about the Coriolis effect, though. It's a great place to get lost in and divided, apparently, for the ballers when dealing with the curve or with the rotation of the Earth.
They will literally contradict their own claims between themselves amongst the ball side of this argument when it comes to Coriolis. I think that's intentional.
It's intentionally confusing.
I was having a funny, silly thought earlier. Like, I wonder, how they argue that bullets are affected by Coriolis, but planes aren't. So I was just silly, but I was wondering if they were able to put like a little engine on the bullet, would they actually now start fighting for that? I know it's silly, but just like I don't understand this whole Coriolis. Bullets are cool, but planes don't. Nonsensical to me.
When you joined this argument, I'm talking to you, Chocolate, did you ever dream that the whole
That again?
bullets would end up being part of our argument? That their assertion of bullets needing to account for the Coriolis would be part of our argument and debunking of it?
You cut out a little bit. I didn't hear everything you said.
I said, did you ever imagine that the idea that bullets need to account for a Coriolis effect, i.e. the Earth rotating underneath, that would eventually become part of our argument?
No,
you ever imagine that?
not at all. I did not imagine that at all. I think it's awesome, and I love seeing them scramble around to try to defend it. Meanwhile, defending the fact that planes don't show any Coriolis. It's hilarious to me.
My Hangout stuff again. Sorry, it's just going to be icons from now on. Get a prettier picture up. Just ignore me. Any signs of the distance to the sun?
Nah, I had a conversation about just that. No, there is no distance to the sun.
Any evidence we can have gas pressure without a container?
Never.
No.
Not for
Not
long.
maintained gas pressure.
Well, while Conspiracy Cats is busy running around asking people what diffraction is, you might want to find out at the, because I mean, he stated himself, without the balloon, there is no pressure. So find out what diffraction is, have fun with that, and then try to figure out this problem, because this is the biggest problem for your ridiculous globe. I'm done.
Anybody bring catnip?
Catnip.
No.
So we could draw conspiracy cats over.
You mean Valerian tea?
Are we trying to get him drunk?
Why, is that what catnip is? Valerian tea? What the fuck?
No, but catnip, I think, is like a valerian, like a certain herb.
Interesting. Arwen.
So if you want to then make tea out of it, okay, that could technically be possible. I think even a type of medicine from herbs. Anyway, it's just
Catnip tea, that's a new one on me.
Right,
That would be funny.
Right, scientific evidence of gravity.
nope.
No, Nathan, no evidence for gravity over here.
Aberration.
Where's Travis?
Every time you say that, I think Aborigines.
What the fuck?
So, last but not least, I know there's a couple more, isn't there? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No, Nathan, not here.
You mean any evidence of a story in part of another story? No.
The lovely paintings.
Last but not least, any evidence of the presuppositional R value?
It exists in math.
No win for R.
Cool, that concludes the housekeeping. So,
I mean,
Aristarchus...
didn't Fight the Flat Earth figure out the distance to the sun himself? I mean, maybe we should put him on radius. Maybe he could figure that out too.
Yeah, if you're out there listening, Fight the Flat Earth, Craig, Penfold, whatever your name is. We'd love to know.
I liked it how Sammy on the last show, when I was showing him how you could have a flat object, a curved shadow over the Earth, he kind of dismissed it as not real. How do I know that's real? I thought that was funny.
Mirror?
You not hear me?
Yeah,
Can
we
you
hear
me?
you.
We can hear your cat as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's blue.
There's always a lot happening around Paul's house. Kids all over the place and screaming, and cats and dogs living together. Mass hysteria.
It
I
definitely
know
feels
that
like mass hysteria
movie.
sometimes.
What you know about that movie, Arvin?
Yeah, of course. Ghostbusters.
All right. Is there any globe heads on the panel?
No, but there is
Oh,
a
hey,
link in the info box if you want to join. Plenty of people in the chat.
They're all hiding over at Jose's.
Hey, Johnny Globehead. Yep, he's got. Yeah, I'm
Been
back.
joined by Johnny Globehead. Hating Johnny.
I'm doing just fine. It seems that our conversation got interrupted over the angular diameter of the sun. I think we reached some sort of, I don't know if we want to call it a conclusion, but they were questioning how I knew that it was a physical object. I thought it was sort of a red herring fallacy away from the discussion. My point was that the angular diameter of the sun does not change. Therefore,
Correct.
the sun must be very far away. Now, I don't know how far that distance is. I can only look in the textbooks that says 93 million miles away. That's not my claim. All I'm claiming is that the flat earth model says it's 3,000 to 5,000 miles away, give or take, depending on the day. You guys change your story up every day. My claim is, how can that be on a flat earth model?
Who's anybody on the panel? So let's just get that out of the way.
Um,
Anybody on the panel have
I like
any
to
adherence to any model?
Yeah, I do.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Arwin, you're up.
Models are suicide.
It's very simple. You take away the assumption of physicality and realize that the only data you have are angular relations of the heavenly bodies in relation to the position on the Earth locations, the location grid, celestial relations, which are in the foundation angular relations. And that is pretty much all.
That's not answering my question.
Hold on, I'm not done yet. Sorry for the long break.
Sounds like he's eating on. Hold on.
But the problem is you can't display this in a model because it's purely optical data, angular optical data, and that can only be displayed properly in the location of the observer itself as it is. And you can't therefore make an entire land surface of some kind of the known confines of the Earth in whatever model that is flat, where you could literally position everything as is exactly. That's impossible.
Right, at this point, I just want to say the views expressed on this show aren't necessarily the views of Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley channels.
Or chocolate.
I got a question for Johnny Globehead.
Hold on,
Why
hold
are
on.
people asking me questions?
The question
When
on the table.
Oh, I know.
Hold on, Johnny Globehead. Hold on, Paul. Hold on, everybody.
all the time.
I just want to reiterate the question. So the question on the table for Arwin: why is there no angular size change with the sun? Simple.
Because it is an optical phenomena that is only observed at the edge of vision as an optical holographic-like phenomena, like a rainbow, which is not in a literal position either. And
So
now
Johnny
the
Globe has
daylight
made a
that comes
claim.
from the sun is very real and can be absorbed. It can even accumulate heat in
So-
matter which it hits. But
while-
the sun itself is not proven to be an actual object.
Fine. So to put that into a form of a question for Johnny Globehead. So do you have any evidence that it's a physical object? Arwin's assertion is that it's a holographic representation of a, what did you call it, Arwin? A optical phenomenon.
Yeah, it's an optical phenomena, an aberration. Yeah, it's not an aberration, an apparition, or a visual side effect of the exact location from which daylight comes in relation to the observer.
Otherwise
In
known
that
as the sun.
position.
Excellent. So do you have any proof that it's physical, Johnny Globehead?
That's a wonderful story. I get these long-winded friggin' dissertations from flatties all the time. Do I have now you're switching it back on to me. Do I have any evidence that it's physical? Well, I see it up in the sky. I get really hot, so it's definitely shining some heat down on me. And we have spectroscopy that tells us what it's made of. So it is a physical object. I just think this is obfuscation around the no angular size change.
Well,
I'm just
it would
saying
have to
right
be.
now.
Wouldn't this be
Sorry,
some
I
kind of
already addressed one of those
phonological
things
fallacy?
you said.
one at a time. So, in order for it to have an angular size change, it's first got to be a physical size to change, though, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, I was going to make my question or to Johnny Globehead is, what's your evidence that it's changing or not changing in angular size? Because you made that claim, I didn't. We didn't.
I've seen a number of videos on YouTube that show even with the solar filter that it doesn't change size throughout the day.
I've seen video that counts as that.
I'm sorry, it doesn't change angular size throughout the day.
I've
I've
seen
actually
a
seen
video
that
where
would
the sun
counteract that too.
literally shrinks.
Sorry, Chocolate. Do you want to repeat it and then Paul?
Yeah, at the horizon, the sun is subjected to the same miraging effects as all visuals are.
Yeah, that's
So
another
there
claim.
will
Hold
definitely
on.
be phenomena.
That definitely needs to go in there, Arwin. But there's another claim from Chocolate that he's challenging the claim made by Johnny Globehead.
Well, yeah. Well, Johnny Glowhead says he's seen videos where the sun doesn't change size, right? Well, I've seen videos that it does. So it's your one video versus another video.
Do you have evidence of that? Those videos?
Yeah, I've seen the video. Yeah, I can show you where to go get it or look at
Yes,
it if you want.
yes, please. Yeah. I got another question.
Yeah.
What is the definition of angular size? What is it?
Who are you asking me?
Not specifically you, to the Flatty panel. We
It is based on the percentage of how much it takes on your field of view, right?
Do you have I'd like a citation with the definition, please. If somebody can go ahead and get a citation for angular size and share it so we can all know what we're talking about here. Thank you.
Anybody willing to bring up any citation?
Paul is.
Oh, Paul is. Oh, just give me 10 seconds. I need to do some jiggery pokery to get it back onto the audience's screen. Just bear with me. Hey, UK Truth.
Hi, Nathan.
Sorry, there'll be a short delay. Rather than having the faff I had yesterday, leaving the hangout and then not being able to get back in, I've just decided today to just leave it faulty and hopefully it doesn't break completely.
Science as a method of inquiry based on reason,
what's going on?
evidence, hypothesis.
Rupert Sheldrake, sorry.
That sounded very sciencey.
I already have the citation up. Well, I don't have it up. I have it on my cell phone. It's with Wikipedia. And actually, it's coming up as angular diameter. I'm not sure why it's saying that, but it says angular diameter, angular size, apparent diameter, apparent size.
Oh, stop. Apparent size. What does apparent size mean?
It would mean somewhat like, is it appearing to you, whether it's either fact or fictional, real or not real?
Apparent.
It's not a true size. Go ahead.
Doesn't apparent mean not actual size?
Correct. I would veer to that. I would agree with that.
That's very interesting. So angular size is apparent size, so that means not actual size. So I could be in a little bit of trouble here, can I?
Correct.
So, let me get it straight.
It's just optics related.
But let me get it straight. Johnny Globehead is now basically giving us our argument. You realise that, right?
Yep.
I knew that.
I thought he would do better than that.
I thought Johnny Globehead would do better than that, but there we go.
I made a mistake. I just wanted to define terms, apparent size. So whenever they say the sun has an apparent size, they're saying that it's the not actual size. So that's a problem. How about the position? Is the position also apparent with the sun?
I would agree. I would think it would be.
Angular position, you mean?
No, apparent position.
No, but you can't really determine that. You have to presuppose it to be in a physical, literal position first.
According to my narrative, is the sun's position also apparent?
No, according to your model, it should not be.
I
Should
beg
be
to
in a literal
differ.
position.
I beg to differ. The sun has an apparent position and an apparent angular size. So not actual size and not actual position. So looks like my argument's not doing very well. I need to pivot. I need to pivot. Oh, wait a second, Flatties. You're not out of the woods yet.
Oh, right. Well, before
Okay,
you tell us why, hold on. I want to summarize that. So, by definition, when being asked why the sun doesn't change in angular size, well, by definition, there's no requirement to answer that because it's not physical size. By definition, it's just apparent size when you give something in angular size. So knowing the definition of angular size negates the need to have that argument, is the point. But we're not out of the woods, apparently.
Yeah, you're not out of the woods, brown sugar. Why do flat-tards think that they should feel the Earth rotating when it's rotating slower than an hour hand on a clock?
Centripetal forces.
So I hear a lot of
accumulation.
I hear a lot of people talking about that we should be able to feel this and feel that. Well, would an hour hand feel going around the clock in a whole hour? I don't think so. So what's up with that?
That's correct. You're using the keyword called rotation, which is
I think the
relative to
gas
the
would also be
sun's-
subjected to this. Despite it's very, very easy to be nudged.
Hold on, was it you talking physics?
Oh, one minute. Yes, the word that quantum used was rotate, and we're
Quantum.
Johnny Gloped. I'm sorry, Johnny. You guys sound alike, but anyway, what I'm saying is that the rotation is that following the sun's path within actually a day's travel.
That's not answering my question. That's not answering the issue. Why should I be able to feel something that's going slower than an hour hand on a clock?
Oh, you're not supposed to feel. I mean, it's as if the rotation is really the spin of the sun, right, that goes around the Earth in one day.
No, hold on. The question being asked is, why would anybody to expect to feel the speeds that are akin to the edge, let's use that word, of an hour hand?
For any flat earther or for a glober?
Okay.
I'm kind of confused.
To assume Johnny Globehead's position, I am on a moving, spinning Earth, but it's moving at the rate of an hour hand, very slowly, right? Why on earth would I expect to feel that?
Why do you feel that?
No.
The
Why would
circumference of the Earth with that speed, it still counts up to a lot.
Johnny Globe has a presupposition in his assumption there that we can stick on the outside of a ball.
Yeah, that's correct. That's not my question. You're not listening. That's another trouble with flatties. They try to obfuscate by not listening to the actual claim here. Because I hear flatties all the time stating that, well, if it's moving that fast, we should feel the spin. We should feel that, right? But it's only going one revolution per day. That's a problem. That's slower than an hour hand.
Yeah, but because of the size, the scale of it, that same rotation becomes a lot. That's the difference between a very small wheel spinning and a very big wheel spinning. The bigger wheel can rotate much slower, yet still it will be much harder to stay on because the width of it. the force accumulates centripetal force.
So I've just got to. Yes, correct, Darwin. The term you're looking for is edge velocity or rim speed.
Oh, right.
I'm still not hearing an answer to my question.
Yeah,
got it wrong.
nobody's giving it you yet. It's interesting, telling.
Come on, flatties. Come up. Come on. Start with the water bong or something. Make something up, for crying out loud.
What edge velocity over isn't good enough for you? It adds up.
Turn it into assertion. Hold on, Johnny Globehead. Turn it into assertion, Arwin.
Oh God, it's this university level now. Shit. I didn't sign up for that.
This is debating 101. You've given the evidence, right? So in other words, you've just made step 2 rather than step 1. So make your claim, then back it with evidence. Well, you've already provided the evidence. You've described it, and I've given you the technical term. But now you need to make an assertion and then just restate what you've already said. Simple.
Do. Flatties, let's go.
Well, this is very low pressure. Come on.
Really, very low.
Let's just take what Arwin said already and just do it for him. So, because the edge velocity is so high of the presupposed spinning spherical Earth, you would be going at an astronomical speed at the equator, more than 1,000 miles an hour. Well, you definitely feel that speed.
Right.
And you would, as you move north or south, that speed would reduce drastically. You should notice
But
that.
flatties, it's only revolving 1 revolution per day. That's slower than an hour hand on a clock.
That's relative.
The clock is a much smaller scale than the Earth.
The assertion, Johnny Globehead, is that you would feel it because there's a higher edge velocity because of the vastly bigger size of the alleged presupposed spinning sphere Earth versus the clock hand. So the edge velocity of a clock hand is infinitesimally small, whereas the edge velocity of a presupposed spinning sphere Earth is 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. Well, that's a vast speed to be travelling, even though the angular speed is slow.
Yeah, that's the problem, because you're talking. I thought I heard rate and speed. I'm talking about revolutions per day. The revolutions are slower than a clock hand. So there's a problem there, isn't there?
Not with the increased edge velocity of up to 1,000 miles an hour. The problem, I'll slip this in here, that Adam did the maths on this. I'm sure you're aware of this, right, John?
I don't know who you're talking to.
Johnny Globehead. So there's a gentleman named Adam Meakin who actually ran the numbers on this. Now, I'm just trusting his numbers. I haven't run them myself. Nevertheless, there is a small but perceivable force that should be felt. So while it's an incorrect assertion to say, well, you'd be going at astronomical speed, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, you definitely feel that. Well, not necessarily when you run the numbers, but there should definitely be a perceivable force, even given the slow angular speed and high edge velocity. You should still feel a force. That would be that's my best gambit now. So if this gets chopped, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I don't know who this Adam guy is. Can you tell him for me to get stuffed? You flatties have not answered my. I can't believe it. Let me say it one more time. The Earth is rotating slower than a clock hand.
Yeah, but that's just angular speed, though, isn't it? Which isn't comparable to edge velocity. So is that just going unaddressed, or is that not the answer in your opinion? If not, why?
So what are revolutions measured by?
RPM.
What is the term? I'm
Rotation.
sorry. What is the term?
Rotation.
It's
Actually,
angular. It's angular velocity. Revolutions are measured by angular velocity. But you guys were saying speed, weren't you?
I said angular speed. My bad. Angular velocity may be slow, but the edge velocity is high.
Oh, I see. So there's a difference between distance per unit time, speed, and angular velocity, which is revolutions per unit time. Is that what you're telling me?
That's exactly how I phrased it. I believe that was how I phrased it to you only 2 minutes ago, Globehead. Didn't you listen?
You don't need to be so condescending. Wait one.
I'm just taking the mickey out of Globeheads. You take about 20 minutes over explaining something which they clearly don't understand. And in this instance, it's me and, let's be honest, the rest of the panel who don't have the concise debunking of this particular argument. Although we've got a pretty good idea. When you actually when you get the concise explanation, Johnny Globehead, the typical way around would be that it's asserted back to you by the Globehead opponent, as though they asserted it to you in the first instance, which they absolutely didn't. I'm just doing that just for comedic effect and claiming that your rather eloquent mathematical description of edge velocity versus angular, I forgot the term already now, damn it.
Angular velocity?
I know you're getting confused.
Angular velocity, that's it. Versus
angular velocity deals with revolutions. This is what you're saying. Angular velocity deals with revolutions, but speed and rate deal with distance per unit time. So one's revolutions per unit time, the other's distance per unit time. So what you're trying to tell me is I'm sort of red herring fallacying you?
Right, so the revolutions per unit time is very low, but the actual distance per unit time is very high. So the speed travelled is extremely fast, but the revolutions is very low.
Yeah. They needed your help with that one, Brown Sugar. Okay, I got another one. This gas pressure container nonsense. I mean, you ladies are really pushing this one quite strong recently. I got a question. If there's a difference in pressures, like between sea level and the top of Mount Everest, and do you all agree that there's different pressure differences between sea level and at the top of Mount Everest?
Yeah, the gradient.
Everyone agrees with that? We're on board?
I think everyone's in agreement. Anybody disagree that we have a pressure differential?
Yes, I agree.
Yep, cool. We're all in agreement.
Then with these pressure, we don't have there is no physical barrier between those pressure gradients. What's up with that?
Well, that's because they're they're still subjected to the relative density ratio.
Hold on, why are you even answering this, Arwin? What's your claim, Johnny Globehead? That there's a pressure gradient. Yes, we all conceded that.
Oh, yeah, there's a pressure gradient, but you said that gas pressure needs a container. So shouldn't there be a container to hold in that gas, the different gas pressures?
Yes.
There must be a physical barrier.
Yes. I see where you're going. I'll step out at this point now, just find where you're going.
Yes, please, moderator. I'm not asking you.
Sorry. I'm just not on. I'm not as quick as you, John. I'm sorry. So yeah, anybody else on the panel?
Anyone else there?
Don't all join in at once.
Right. The question on the table
what's the
is
question again?
right. In order to have a gas pressure, according to us, there must be a container. Well, there are differing pressures between where we are now, presuming that you're not on Everest in this hangout, and the top of the highest mountain. But there's no container between those two different pressures. Well, what gives?
So,
surely you need a container between them.
Can I give an example?
There's many different pressures between sea level and the top of Mount Everest, for crying out loud. I think, at sea level, it's 760 torr. Don't quote me, but I think the top of Mount Everest is something like 200 torr, somewhere like that. So there's quite a few pressure gradients in there, not just one.
So when you're in a swimming pool and the medium is water, liquid, and you go down, the pressure increases, right? Like you feel it as you go down, your head starts to.
Who cares?
Your ears.
We're not talking about water. We're talking about gas. There's no bonds between gas. No bonds. Water's totally different. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a false equivalence fallacy. So you might want to try another example.
But the question on the table is why isn't there any containment between the differing pressures? That's the basic question.
Well, it still requires
Because a gradient
I mean,
naturally forms after the
no,
equilibrium has been
it's the
found with the
antecedent thing. You know,
Hold on,
like there's you still need.
sorry, Anon. I heard the word equilibrium from Arwin, so I'm definitely going to hold that up. Go on, Arwin. Let's hear that again.
Right. Okay. So a gradient can only form after an equilibrium has been has been found within the container.
That's a contradiction in terms.
Why?
You can either be
Gradient-
gradiated or have an equilibrium.
No, but first the gas pressure has to find its equilibrium within the container, and then a gradient
Oh,
can
you're so
form
close.
after
You're
the
so
turbulence
close.
has set it.
You're so close. You just got
What?
too many words. Anybody else? Arwin's come
While
closest.
still young, flatties.
Shout out to Awaken Narrative for the super chat.
I mean, we
Come
have low
on.
pressure and high pressure systems that are. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just about to reiterate the question, but you go ahead, Paul.
I'm just saying we have low pressure and high pressure systems even at ground level. There's no containment there, but there you do have to have the presupposition of a container to be before you can have the gas pressure. So, because I mean, weather fronts talk about that all the time. We got this high pressure system moving in over this low pressure system, and that's at ground level. But I still don't see the problem. I mean, I guess I don't understand what Johnny Globe has really pressed.
Did we have to use the word antecedent? Was that it?
Oh my God, this is a snore fest. Why don't you have, why don't you have, we got, like I said again, from sea level to the top of Mount Everest, it's sea level 760 tour. And like I said, don't quote me. I think the top of Mount Everest is something like 200 tour. I could be off here and there. I don't know. But the point is that there's different pressure gradients going up, right? To whatever height that is. What's the height of Mount Everest? Does anybody know? Come on, you bong sniffers. Yeah, you ought to have been up to those heights before, metaphorically.
Could be wrong. Isn't that like
8,848
32,000 feet,
meters.
something like that?
Just
9,000.
8,848 meters.
8.848 meters high. Apparently.
29,000 feet.
No, it's not 9,000 feet. It's a lot higher than 9,000 feet.
29,000 feet.
29,000 feet. So from
Yeah, I
zero.
thought it was 32. Damn.
No, 8.8 meters. 1,000 meters.
Anyway, yes,
Okay,
wonderful.
thank
It's
you.
very high and there's lower pressure there. Why haven't we got containers between all those different grades of pressure?
Because you guys are saying we need a container for pressure, right?
Yeah, and the globe heads are saying if you've got a container with pressure and it's always equal, right? You've got to have equal pressure if you're in a container. That's the assertion from globe heads that defeats this argument. So, come on, guys, doing very badly.
Hasn't Zachary already proven that they could have a gas pressure in a container? Gas pressure gradient in a container?
You could just merge Chocolate Sane and Arwin. We'd be there.
What?
I don't think we're compatible. Super
So
Saiyan.
in order to have
No fusion.
Hold on, I heard the start of it from someone. I'm sure I did.
Yeah, like I said this at the beginning. In order to have a gas pressure gradients, you still need gas, and pressure requires a containment.
Can you say that one more time, please?
In order to have gas pressure gradient, you still need gas pressure, and in order to have gas pressure, you need to have a container.
Oh, so what you're saying is that gas pressure comes first then gas pressure gradients come second. Is that what you're saying?
I said that
yeah.
earlier. The
Yeah,
fuck?
we said that earlier. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, we already know this.
Well, not quite,
This,
not quite.
heard this
Listen
like
on the
a trillion-
replay. No. Kudos to Non. You summarised it beautifully. You were almost there, Arwin. So was Chocolate, but the Non's got it perfect. So just so I don't take your glory in on, can you just repeat it? I've turned you up a bit.
Yeah, sure. In order to have gas pressure gradient, you still need gas pressure. That comes first. So gas pressure comes first before gas pressure gradient can set in. And the gas pressure, you need a container.
Oh, so what you're trying to say is my claim is sort of a red herring fallacy again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, red herrings are everywhere. So
So
I don't
certainly
see why
are.
my claim was so wrong, saying that.
It wasn't wrong. You weren't wrong, Arwin. The only bit that you were wrong about was to assert that you needed an equilibrium to begin with. Other than that, you were right.
But you do need an equilibrium. The gas
No.
pressure has to first fill the container, then a gradient can set in. That's always how it works.
Not necessarily. In the case of
Really?
Earth without a time machine, you can't confirm that to be the case.
No, but you can confirm it in larger scales containers, gas experiments.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with you on that, actually, Arwin. I take it back. You were right, Arwin.
Yay!
Okay, so is
Okay.
anybody unclear about the red herring and how it's defeated?
Welsh fish slapping?
No, but keep on track. There's going to be people watching. This is purely for the audience. We're just useful tools. Anybody? Anybody at all? If not, I'll just summarise it again.
go ahead. When you do it with a British accent, it just has more gravitas.
Okay. Well, we have to take one step back from the original claim so that we understand the red herring. So the original claim is in regards to the vacuum of space. That's what this is all about. So we assert you can't have a vacuum of space because gas pressure, regardless of if it's gradiated, needs to press on something. That's our assertion in the first instance. The retort, which is presented today by Johnny Globehead, is how can you have a pressure gradient? That's the response that we receive. Now, that in and of itself does not address the original claim, hence it's a red herring. So, regardless of gradation, you still, as pointed out so concisely by Anon, you still require the antecedent of a container to begin with. So this isn't an address to the second law of thermodynamics violation known as the vacuum of the sky, otherwise known as outer space. It does not address that inconsistency in logic, i.e. you can't have gas pressure without a container. So the gradient isn't an address to that claim. It's just used so that, like happened today, you start worrying about addressing that problem. Well, how can we have the gradient? Well, notice, most importantly, I resisted and John did. Neither of us actually addressed the claim. The red herring hasn't been addressed yet. So in no point in this process have we actually explained to you on the panel or the audience how we can have a gas pressure gradient. And the reason is because it's not necessary. That's the point of a red herring, to get you to argue about how the gas pressure gradient is formed. Well, without first having gas pressure, i.e. that's the point of the argument, outer space is fake, you can't have a pressure gradient. So it's always the most important to essentially ignore the red herring fallacy. Now, because we're quite deep into a debate and, the average watch time is about 25 minutes, I'm happy, if John's happy, to actually give people the answer, because it's an interesting talking point that maybe people will end up abusing and using and actually entertaining the red herring. But I don't know, John, maybe you feel it's not necessary and you'd rather leave it, as it's been such a good example of the red herring, to not tell people. You tell me, it's your example.
Well, it apparently you already left the cat out of the bag a number of times on I think you did once on Jaren's show, unauthorized by the way. But let's hold on to it, because I think this week Quantum Eraser is going to be doing a presentation on gas pressures, containers, second law of thermodynamics, Boyle's law, the ideal gas law, and we're going to go over that very subject. So if they can hold out until then, we'll go over it then. How about that?
That's absolutely perfect. So I'll do a little plug. So it'll be on Saturday. We'll do a Ball Busters. It will be specifically about the second law of thermodynamics violation known as outer space gas pressure without a container, the necessary antecedents, all of the assertions that are laid at our door by the globe heads in this regard, the red herring fallacies, the whole kit and caboodle will be laid bare. So check it out on Saturday, 7 p.m. UK time. Ball Busters. Be here or be sphere.
I'm sorry, but you were breaking up. This friggin' turtle with the red mask or the red band over his eyes.
Physics warrior.
My bad. I'm sorry, Johnny Globy.
That's all right. I muted the Hangout so I could plug my own show.
Okay. All right. So we got one last one. Do we have time to do one more quick one?
Yeah, we've got about a quarter of an hour.
Okay. Star rotation. Okay. Stars rotate counterclockwise and clockwise depending on which hemisphere that you're in. I mean, this is validated till the cows come home. We've all seen the star trails from the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere, and they're counterclockwise and clockwise. How in the world can that fit on your flat Earth model?
Before this gets an answer, I'd just like to say there is a PayPal in the information box to anybody who wants to donate to the victims of reification rape. So feel free to hit that PayPal if you want to donate to the very, very worthy cause of victims of rape. That is all.
This is just another obfuscation tactic.
Here, by the way.
This is just another obfuscation tactic. I'm not putting up with this. You flatties, right? Now answer the question.
Okay. The stars always, just like the sun and the moon, rise from the east and they set in the west. In the south, they do the same thing. Just depends which way you're looking at them. And you can't see all three stars in Sigma Octantis from the south. You can only catch two of them from each location. So the constellation Sigma Octantis is not exactly missing a star. So
sorry, I don't think you've addressed the fact that's been laid at your door that's it's only possible on a sphere. So maybe you'd like to make the claim again, Johnny Globehead.
Yes, he's obfuscating the question, not a red herring fallacy about Sigma Octantis, whatever the heck that is. I don't really care about that. I want to know, and like I said, we've seen these star trails before, and I know you bong hoarders have seen these things looking up at the sky. You're probably as high as the dang stars are. You're probably right up there. But they're going counterclockwise and clockwise in different hemispheres, northern versus southern hemisphere. That cannot happen on a flat Earth model.
Can you prove that the celestial globe actually forms a sphere, or can you only see half of it at the same time ever?
You're not addressing the claim. They go in different directions. It's just as simple as that. Northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere.
Yeah, but he assumes that it is another half of a sphere. So does he have any confirmation of that?
Okay.
Hold on.
Listen, let's
no obfuscation, Johnny Globehead. Let's just give Arwin a quick round of applause, because Arwin has taken the easiest route out, which is excellent. Thank you, Arwin. So at any point in an argument that you may not necessarily understand the actual debunking of, you can always pull out the R value. Absolutely correct, Arwin. Can you repeat what you just said?
Right. Well, you assume that the stars go in a particular direction on the southern and the northern hemisphere, but by using those terminologies, you assume automatically that you're on a sphere to begin with. So you presuppose it.
Arwen, you stole my answer, man. I was gonna ask Johnny Globehead, does he have any proof of his hemispheres?
Oh, that's gotta hurt, Johnny Globehead. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, we did. I didn't assume it. Eratosthenes, bitches.
Right. Okay. Well, Arwen has essentially paid due attention to what Arwen's just done, because you can basically win any argument with that little tool right there. So Arwen's won. However, that's not really the point here. So there's a specific claim. Now, I don't think the detail of the claim that's being made has actually been paid attention to by the panel. So I'm going to get you to say it just one more time, John. Maybe the key details slow down a bit or something. I don't know.
Yes, I'll repeat it for you flatties one more time. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I ought to get some slobber nurse secretaries, because these are very easy claims. I'm getting tired of repeating myself. The stars spin in the northern versus southern hemisphere, whatever you want to call it, sphere, plane, whatever.
What?
They spin clockwise and counterclockwise depending on which hemisphere plane that you're in. So, if you're on a hemisphere plane, that's impossible. What is your answer?
Like I said,
thing I
they
could-
always rise from the east and they set in the west. So it's just
Perfect.
depending on your head's orientation if you see it clockwise or counterclockwise.
Perfect. You did get it first off. It just needed dragging out a bit longer and on. But yeah, absolutely correct. All of the stars rise in the east and set in the west. They do not rotate counterclockwise and clockwise. Those are apparent directions depending on your orientation. However, if you stand on the claimed equator, regardless of your presuppositions, you will watch all of the stars rise in the east and set in the west.
Wait, I object. This is too much interference from the moderator. You're supposed to be moderating.
I'm repeating Anon. He said exactly that.
What did he say? Anon, say it again.
What I said was that stars and all the heavenly luminaries rise in the east and they set in the west. It's counterclockwise or anti-clockwise versus clockwise only matters if, depending on your head's orientation. If you're in the south and you're looking north, that's what it'll look like. So it still rises in the east and sets in the west.
So it's a relative orientation, basically. Clockwise.
So what you're telling me is that clockwise and counterclockwise aren't directions.
Yeah.
Aren't objective directions. Is that what you're telling me?
That's why I said depends on your head, which way you're looking. So it's based on your hold on. It depends on your orientation, I guess.
So we can summarize by saying that counterclockwise and clockwise, left and right, up and down, left and right, forward and backward are not objective directions. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
That's correct.
John, let me help you.
No, you don't need to help me. You don't need to help me. I got this right now. 1 second. I got one more question. You said all the stars. Hold on, Terminator Turtle there. You said all the stars, all the luminaries rise in the east and set in the west. Does Polaris rise in the east and set in the west?
Yeah, except that guy. Sorry about that.
No, they don't. I wouldn't know.
Polaris stays where it is, right above the north center of the plane, I guess. So we think. I'm not sure, but it doesn't move. It stays there. They tell you 45,000 years ago it was another star, and in 45,000 years it'd be Vega, and that's awesome, but I can't validate that. Sorry. I only live like maybe another 30, 40 years. So
this is all right. That's a little red herring fallacy. Let's get away from that. So what you're saying, all of the stars, sun and moon, save for Polaris, move from what? West to east?
No, the other way, east to west.
East
Sun
to
rises
west.
in the east.
East to west. Okay. That's your final answer?
Sun rises in the east.
Okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. Good answer.
Cool.
All right. Now, do you want to summarize this, Nathan? moderator, now is the appropriate
No,
time.
there's a bit more to add. I shouldn't leave the globe head on the panel, but there's a little bit more. So you used all of the stars in terms of the counterclockwise, clockwise, but there's also the flat out assertion of the star rotations based on Sigma Octantis and Polaris, right? So can you turn that into an assertion from the globe head? I thought that's where this was going, actually. That's why I did a shout out for victims of our rape.
I'm sorry, did you ask me a question?
Yeah, can you formulate and affirm the consequent using the southern and northern hemispheres to assert that the star rotations prove that we're on a flat plane?
No fallacies for a moderator.
I just want you to talk about star rotation. That's it. That's all I want.
Getting really meta here.
Well, the star rotations, they're based on directions, correct? This is an easy one. The star rotations are based on directions. A lot of people get confused between clockwise, counterclockwise, left, right, up and down, forward and backward. Those are not objective directions. So...
No, okay, you've missed my point, so I'll just do it myself.
Yeah,
so,
I have.
Okay, no
I'm
worries.
not forming fallacies for a moderator.
No worries. Well, I would say to the panel, so if the Earth is a sphere, we will observe star rotation in the northern and southern hemisphere around a point. And we do observe star rotation in the northern and southern hemisphere because the Earth's a sphere. It's as simple as that. Now, that's the assertion I've heard. So, got about 5 minutes left on this live show. Can anybody tackle that? Hopefully, Arwin.
What?
You've already answered this, Arwin, in essence. So your original answer was the undoing of this, but
background noise, guys. Let's go.
All right, can I speak now?
I can't hear you.
I think,
Whoever's speaking, I can't hear.
Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos. Bad.
Yeah, hear me better now?
Carlos, your mic is real bad, bro.
How about now?
Oh, much better.
A little better.
Is it better now?
sure. So, do I need to reiterate, Carlos, or? Okie dokie then. So if the Earth is a sphere, then we will observe star rotation in the northern and southern hemisphere, and we absolutely do. There is no doubt about it. Observe star rotation in the northern and southern hemisphere, and that's simple because the Earth's a sphere. That's what I am told. So, anybody got any address to that?
Is that a formological fallacy?
Yeah.
So, in a matter, there will only be one pivot or rotation. There's only two pivot points of rotation will only be possible in a sphere.
Yes, that's what I just said.
Okay, my bad.
So what's the address to that then? Has anybody got any undoing? Because obviously Carlos thinks that suddenly we're affirming his proof of sphere here, but that's quite amusing.
Yeah, but that's not a formological fallacy though?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so don't we just throw that out?
What's that then, Chocolate? What's an affirming the consequent formological fallacy?
If we observe star rotation, if the Earth is a sphere, we observe star rotation.
No,
Two,
star
two,
rotation
two,
in opposing
two.
directions.
Yeah. Two.
Say again?
Star rotations in opposing directions, not just star rotation. So if the Earth is a sphere, we will observe star rotations in opposing directions, southern versus northern hemisphere. We observe southern versus northern hemisphere opposing star rotations, therefore the Earth is a sphere.
And that's an affirming the consequent formological fallacy, so get out of here, Globehead.
Yeah, there's an extra element to it as well as begging the question, which is why I said hopefully Armin would address that. So I'll just undo it as I've put it together. So if P, then Q, therefore P. So in this instance, the if P part is also a begging the question fallacy. So if the Earth is a sphere, that would be your presupposition or begging the question fallacy if the Earth is a sphere. So you're automatically assuming your outcome because you're trying to prove that the Earth is a sphere. So you start off by begging the question if P, also known as begging the question. Then Q, we will see opposing star rotation in the north and south hemisphere, just to back up your original begging the question fallacy. So you're asserting that it's a northern and southern hemisphere, as asserted in if P in Q. So you've got if P, the Earth is a sphere, then star rotation is Q. Then you just reverse it. So we do observe star rotation, Q, therefore the Earth is a sphere, P. So you're essentially begging the question and then affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. So it's a logical fallacy and a begging the question fallacy in one.
I.e., the argument's void.
And just to top it off before I round this live show out, you've also got the begging the question part. So you've also, sorry, not the begging the question part, the logical inconsistency part, which is to say for that example to work, you need opposing star rotations. And in order to have star rotations in opposing directions, you've got to give this relative counterclockwise clockwise example, which is undone by just the simple assertion of the actual observation. All of the stars, with the exception of Polaris, rise in the east and set in the west. Anything anyone wants to add before I round out the live show?
What did you call that last fallacy?
A begging the question, affirming the consequent, formal logical fallacy. Formal logical fallacy
No,
just means
there was an extra part that you said. I didn't catch that.
begging the question. So begging the question.
Two fallacies. Those are two separate fallacies.
Yeah, they're two separate fallacies. The reason I incorporate it into the affirming the consequent. So affirming the consequent is the name of the fallacy. So you're trying to prove P exists by using Q, the thing that does exist. So the thing that's real in this instance is that you observe something with the stars. So that bit's certain. You can just go out and observe the stars. It doesn't necessarily matter what they're saying the stars do in this particular part of the fallacy. So something that we observe. So if I make this assumption, I will observe this. Well, that's your assumption and then declaring that you can observe something, right? Well, you've got, at that stage, only the begging the question bit. You're assuming the Earth's a sphere. But then you go forth to make an observation and declare that because you've made that observation, it makes the Earth a sphere. So that's affirming the consequent. Make sense?
Copy that.
Cool. Well,
I'd just like to point out that you can see the Southern Cross, which you shouldn't be able to if you're on a sphere, from Canary Islands, Spain. And that's clear. It's not super north, but it's definitely north of the 0 latitude. So latitude. So you can see stars, constellations that are supposedly in the southern hemisphere from the northern hemisphere, and that should not be possible if you were on a sphere.
Cool. With that, I'm going to say if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. However, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley 1980 live stream, then unfortunately this is where we bid you farewell. A massive, huge, enormous thank you for joining us and hitting the super chat. Also a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. If you'd like to keep yourself occupied after the live show is over, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The angular velocity and angular distance based on speed on the Earth's rotation. Can you say that again? Oh, he probably walked out.
Well, he was saying that angular velocity is different than rotation. So something can, because that thing is measured in RPMs, rotation per minute, and if you rotation well, if you do RPM per minute, or you can do RPH per hour, but it's just rotation of something on an axis. That doesn't. It's different than velocity, which is how much you're moving in space. And when you have a sphere, 25,000 kilometers or miles in circumference, at the edge velocity of that would be about 1,000 miles an hour in the equator. So just because it's revolving around itself one rotation doesn't make it doesn't make it that it doesn't make it less crazy that you're still traveling at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. That's on a convertible
diversion tactic. All it is a diversion tactic. It's a red herring because you're using two different units of measure, right? They're talking about RPMs, which is angular velocity, versus tangential speed, which is miles per hour or distance per unit time, as opposed to revolutions per unit time.
But Nathan had explained it like so perfectly well to a point where we're able to compare or and contrast the two of speed. One's based on at a distance is slower, and and one based on rotation is much faster. He said it like really nice, and that's why I thought he could say it again.
Just because he's British.
Are you saying
Americans
are you saying that I didn't say it appropriately?
You didn't say it with gravitas, man. Aren't you born in America? Anybody?
You have to have an accent with that.
Yeah. If you want somebody to tell you something that's supposed to mean something, it's told in a British accent.
All right. Well, what if I do put another shrimp on the barbie and then say
That's
angular velocity?
Not Australian.
That's not British.
That's Australian.
That's Aussie. That is Aussie, mate. I like to speak in a British accent at times.
But the bottom line is, I didn't get that argument. So this is one instance where I can just hand immediate credit over to John, because essentially I tried to explain it with rim velocity, but I haven't made the comparison between angular velocity and actual speed, i.e. distance over time travelled. So you've got completely different measuring standards to obfuscate the point that you're travelling at 1,000 miles an hour on the equator. And it's angular velocity, i.e. RPM, that they use to obfuscate that point. But I couldn't boil it down before John actually explained it. In this instance, I was screwed. If I'd have been on the panel with an actual globehead, I wouldn't have been able to use the terminology if they were as sharp as John, or Johnny Globehead.
So, that sounded good, right? He had a British accent. Everything was good to go. So everyone's got that correct, right? Just simply, angular velocity is revolutions per unit time, whereas tangential speed is distance per unit time. It's like you're never going to get pulled over by a cop for going over the RPM limit, right? He's never going to pull you over and give you a ticket for going over.
Actually, now that you say that, I do know that if you have like big tires on your car, your speed actually increases. So if you're going 60 miles an hour with extra big tires, you actually your tangential distance has increased. So it's
different. That's true. And by comparison, if you put smaller tires on, your acceleration increases. Anyway,
so does everyone got that now? It's a bait and switch with angular velocity versus tangential speed. Simply. Good. Is that good?
Good one.
Johnny Globehead's been very well received, by the way. I don't know if you know that, Quantum Eraser, but people like Johnny Globehead.
Really? They like him? Am I getting compliments?
It's because it's like having an argument with a baller. Well, in this instance, the baller even, points out his red herring fallacies as he goes, right? As opposed to us having to carefully unpick them. And in some instances, if the Globehead was as qualified as you to fight for the globe, I think in most instances, no offence to the people on the panel, that get cornered. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and I do that because it's so painfully slow that I have to drag these guys along. But that's all right. That's the point of the exercise, not only for the people on the panel, but for the people in the audience to recognize these arguments, because they're going to hear them or have already heard them 1,000 times, and they get a fast talker or a couple people on them, and they can't think fast. So it's just practice, 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 and trying to think these things through to establish your position. So you know that with every single one of their argument, you know that it's not true. So there's a flaw inside it. So you just have to, it's like a puzzle. It's like an investigation on finding where the flaw is, because it's there. You just got to find it.
But Arwin still had the best, the best overall defeat, and I'll still maintain this in terms of when you're actually into the debate. The best debunking for the heliocentric system is gas pressure without a container, in my opinion. But when you're actually into the debate, when they start making the examples, they've got to beg the question at some stage. They must beg the question. And Arwin undid the argument that John was trying to make, because the argument's hinging around the difference in the rising and falling of the stars as you see them from your location, or anybody's location, which is the point. So that's the main crux of the argument. But Arwin just went, "Well, give me R." That's the end of the argument.
He did. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah.
But that's something that I like it in comments. It's my favourite thing in comments, because it makes swift work of any argument. If you just can't be asked to get into a long-winded explanation about second law of thermodynamics or something, you just ask for R, and they'll quickly start saying, "You presuppose angle of attack," or something like that.
Yeah, and it was like pulling teeth with this angular size of the sun. I had to go ahead and ask you, I had to lead you by the hand, guys, to go get me the definition, because the definition destroys it. Right?
It's one of those, we say it so many times, it's just an apparent sun. Right, but you don't really think about it in terms of how it's defined when they ask that question. I hadn't thought about that either, John. I'll confess, I didn't think about that. So the question's benign, isn't it? Why doesn't the angular size change? Well, the angular size is an apparent size, so it's meaningless. Your question's irrelevant.
Yep. But they push it, right? You're going to hear that argument. That's one of the most prevalent arguments on the circuit, right?
Yep.
You're gonna get pounded with this, so you got to be able to think on your feet. So anytime you hear angular size, angular diameter, they all mean apparent, right? So that gives the game away. It makes their question sort of, not even sort of, it's absolutely ridiculous, because not only is the angular size of the sun an issue, is that in their model, the position is also apparent, right? So what is their actual claim, right? It's pretty funny. Can anyone formulate their actual? Does anyone have the globe part argument with that?
Well, their argument is that the apparent size doesn't change, therefore that can't work on a flat plane. Because the claim that we have a perspective and combine that with their presupposition that it's a physical item, but their presupposition isn't even that it's a physical item, because in the claim, when they ask for angular size, they're asking for the apparent size. So this kind of goes around in its own circle.
Right. Is there anything else on the apparent or angular size? It's a really good one.
Yes, the other one that you brought up today, which I've already forgotten, which is the apparent location.
Yeah, the position of the sun is also apparent, and it's in their model. You can go search apparent position of the sun. You can do it right now. Right?
But yeah, this is tied in with the nonsense assertion that you can have a sun that's appearing in your experience. So you see the sun on the horizon. Well, in their model, because it's an apparent position, what you are actually seeing is the refracted sun from around the curve of the Earth in the same way as they say that we get looming. So in other words, you're not seeing a physical sun, you're seeing an apparent position of the sun based on its bending of light and all that kind of crap that they would assert using R.
Yeah. So their actual question that they put forward is that I'm saying their actual question now, not what they're saying, but it boils down to this. Why does the not actual size of the sun not decrease its not actual size as it moves from its not actual position?
Why does the not actual size of the sun not change as it moves its not actual position from your location? Is that correct?
I'll say it again. I'm going to say this real slow. This is their actual question that you will be, like I said, it's not the actual question, but this is what it boils down to. Why does the not actual size, that's angular size of the sun, not decrease its not actual size as it moves from its not actual position?
I'll have to write that down. That's priceless.
I'm going to say it again. Why does the not actual size, that is angular size, of the sun not decrease its not actual size as it moves from its not actual position? I mean, Elmer Fudd and Mr. Magoo are blushing just over the question. So
that is a good way to put it, though. It's pretty funny.
So there you go. Okay, was there anything else that stood out? Yeah, that's why I said go ahead and look up the definition, because I wanted the audience to see it. Right. So go ahead and cite it so the audience can see it, so everyone can see it. That apparent, remember, apparent means not actual in this context. In a scientific context, if you're talking science, whenever you hear apparent, that means not actually. Okay?
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll listen back on the re-up. I don't know when I'm going to publish this because I've had a late start today, so this will go out on Nathan Oakley probably maybe tomorrow morning, this after show. Otherwise it's just too many shows back to back on the other channel, but I'll listen to it back and I'll scribble it down. But the thing to do is what you did basically, isn't it? Let's go and have a look at what apparent size means and just take them to the definition and get them to concede that it means not actual. And then if push comes to shove, you can then say, so where is the sun? Where's it declared to be in your model then? And then type into Google something like sun's apparent position into Google, and it'll describe where in their model you haven't got a physical location. You've got, as I described earlier, a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of the sun's location.
Yeah. That's all right. They better get on their toes because I just did this off the cuff. Wait till I start doing this or preparing.
Well, I'm hoping it'll become. That was one of Betty's suggestions. Like it becomes a little bit on Ballbusters.
Right. Yeah, but the people got to be prepared because if you're on the panel just smoking and joking, and you can't do that now, especially when the moderator sticks his nose in where he should. But
only got an hour live. I've got to move things along occasionally.
Yeah, too funny. So I'm going to start preparing some arguments. So you guys better get your act together.
But this is the way. This is the way forward, right? If basically the globe heads are too terrified to come in and debate their own assertions because they'll make me look foolish when they're pulled apart, well, we can take ownership of their arguments. That's no problem. Don't you agree?
Yeah. We know better than they do. Yeah.
When you've got control of their arguments, you personally, Johnny Globehead, don't obfuscate the point. You concede when you're fallacious. It's like, great, we'll just take over your arguments then if you don't want to put them forward with obfuscation and red herrings. No worries.
Right. It's minus all the insults. Now I throw a couple out there.
You got to keep it entertaining.
just for some color. But yeah, I have to because there reaches a certain point. I can't sit here. If somebody gives me a good answer back, I can obfuscate to a point, but if they keep on repeating it, I'm screwed. Like whoever did that was Anon earlier with the gas pressure.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get out of that because he said what he said. That was it. I was finished because I can't. What am I going to do? You know, I could.
Well,
I know.
I had a guy tell me he starts talking about vac. Yeah, hold on, baby. He was talking about vacuum of the how there's no vacuum between gas. He's talking about putting gas in a centrifuge and spinning it, and the center there's vacuum, and I was like, so is the centrifuge a container? And that just shut him up. Well, it didn't really shut him off. He kept going. We kept going around in circles, and I had to stop it. But
right,
basically, there's always a container. It doesn't matter what they're trying to do.
Well, I was gonna go. I did have another option, but it was gravity, and I knew I didn't want to go down that route because it would have took too long, and I didn't know the timing here. So I did have another option. I just didn't do it. But that's not to say I won't do it in the future. So you better get up to speed with the gravity argument.
You know, I thought of the same answer as Anon, and then I was just like, but he's got to be looking for something else because that's simple. I thought you were looking for something else.
I said, is it the antecedent thing? And nobody responded.
Yeah, because the first time he said pressure gradient, I was just like, what? Well, gradient's nice, but how do we have the gas pressure in the first place? You know? But I thought it was too simple.
No.
Because, Johnny Grovehead could be a pain in the ass, so.
Simple's not the right word. Eloquent.
Right.
Yeah, Vanilla, get it right.
Hey, watch that, Grovehead.
Hey, where did Slick go? Wasn't he on the panel?
He probably went to debate Globeheads.
No, but
Got a taste for it now. He's got a taste for blood.
Oh, so he went somewhere else?
I think so.
Huh, okay. Hey, make sure you get Adam. Make sure Adam's on Saturday.
Yeah, he's got a lot on his mind at the moment.
Oh, he does.
Does.
Yeah, but just let him know. Tell him we need him on the show if he can make it. Would appreciate him being there.
Yeah, I'll definitely drop him a line. Right, guys, I think I'll round out the after show. Anything else anybody wants to drop in? You've got the ear of the audience for the now.
No, just that the flatties better get their act together because I'm going to start preparing. I'll get some time and get some arguments prepared and just get ready.
Cool. That, I will say, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the audience in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for tuning in, smashing the super chat if you've done so. Thank you very much indeed. Subscribing, liking, sharing, all those good stuff that I'm sure you've all done, because of course you're all ace. Also, a massive thank you to all of the debating panel for making this after show possible. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!